Right guys, this is a little introduction into the video that's going to be coming in a minute. Everything was made in the workshop. It's a 1.8 meter wardrobe, sprayed in dark grey, shaker style doors, pelmet detail at the top and plinth detail at the bottom. So have a little look, a few tips and techniques of how I fit, how I put my bearers down, how I cut my trims, how I fit handles, and my process of fitting from start to finish in quite a bit of detail. So stay tuned and I hope you enjoy. Right, Sean is just putting these biscuits in, and we're using zeros for these particular shelves. So these sides that you can see, they're 700 wide, 750 wide, or shall I say deep, and they've got these little shelves that go right at the back. There we go. Like that, so you get hanging at the front and shelving at the back. Doors are all hinged, so while the lads were bringing up the materials, I hinged the doors and stacked them up and put little gloves at the top to protect each piece. Don't lean paint against paint. That's another side. Hanging rails, brackets. The hanging rail brackets are already in, ready to accept the hanging rails. And these are the rest of the components. There's not much up here, to be fair. It's a relatively small wardrobe, and we've got tops and bottoms, and these are little shelves. 2 units to make. So we've got a left and a right. The left one is a bit bigger. This right one is only 400 wide, and it's got 3 doors going on it, all shaker style. Skirting at the bottom, and plinth and a pelmet detail at the top. So at the bottom we need to match this skirting detail here. You see it's like a homemade skirting. It's basically MDF with a staff bead on the top. So that's what we've done. We've already got these pre-mitered in the workshop for the returns, but you can see how we've made them. Piece of MDF, and it's a staff bead on the top, pinned on the top, simple as that. Give that detail and paint it. So that's what we're going to crack on and do. Obviously trims go on last. These are quite involved, these carcasses, because like I said, we've got all these shelves to go in the back and 2 hanging rails at the same time. But once we've done the 2 carcasses, they should just slip directly on top of these bearers that I've put down. Front bearer there, back bearer. I had to screw these floor panels down because they're a little bit loose. But other than that, they're only about 30mm high. I've had to maximise this wardrobe height because it's only 2.2 floor to ceiling. So they're only 30mm high, these bearers. And I've allowed about 60mm gap at the top to accept a pelmet detail at the top of the door, as you can see here. The top of the wardrobe, we leave it, no, I think I've left 80mm gap, so when I put the pelmet detail on the top, it's not too small and skinny. Sean's just finishing off the biscuits, and we'll get this unit. This is B unit at the moment. This is the skinny one. And we need to get them flush at the bottom because this is where the backing is going to go. So what we'll do is we'll put a little packer or a biscuit underneath this junction here and here, so we know that they're at the same plane as we screw them in from the back. You can see everything's been pre-drilled to there. 2, 2, 2, 2. And we're going to be using 450s to screw these shelves in. These shelves are 25mm thick, just because the next carcass spans over 600 and it's about 900 long. This is for the big carcass, and they're 25. If they're spanning over 600, we use 25, so we have to match it on this side and make these 25 too, which is nice because it gives it a nice chunky look, a bit more of an expensive feel. So you can see a 3mm packer underneath to level them both up at the back. Sean is screwing them up, so I'm going to hold this shelf with my knee as he's pushing with the drill bit. It doesn't push the shelf out. There you go, he's got one screw in there and he's tightened the top up. He's going to do the other one now. I don't need to hold it anymore. yeah, nice and tight. We're just going to work our way along and do that for every single shelf. These are all screwed up. Nice joints on every single one, and as we've screwed them up with 2 screws, it's pulled them nice and square as well. Okay, so we've laid it on its side. We've got these hanging rails just placed in. They're a little bit wonky at the moment, but we're going to get this side on now. 2-man job, so I can't really show you it in progress. We're going to get the side in, get it into these biscuits, then lay it down onto the rest of these shelves, and then line these up at the same time. We've already got the biscuits in this side ready to go, and the hanging rail brackets. There we go, this side is on. A couple of minutes, really easy to be fair. And now Sean's going to screw up the side to the bottom through the pre-drilled holes that we already have. 1, 2, 3, 4. So let me explain these holes. That's the screw hole, biscuit, screw, biscuit, screw, biscuit, screw. And that's what we do. So we got 3 biscuits and 4 screws, I believe. Again, we're using 550s. See, once he's put 1 screw in, he can literally just pre-drill the rest of them. Now it's in position. We've lined up this back edge, because this is where the backing is going to be. Always want to get this nice and flush. You can see the back of these shelves. You want to get those flush. Now we can pre-drill the rest of these and get the screws in all in one hit. He's lifting it up here to get it nice and flush as he's pre-drilling. And then he's just got 3 more to put in. We usually use an impact drill, but it's too noisy in the morning. First thing in the morning, 9 o'clock, don't want to be waking up the whole street. These little combis on a speed number 2 is fine. There we go, lovely. And have a look underneath. And now, because everything's lined up in there, all we need to do is go around. We can keep it this orientation, we don't need to spin it over. Now Sean's literally lining up each shelf, 1 by 1, and screwing those up. Again, same technique. Going through the pre-drilled holes, which have been done in the workshop. Using a 3mm pilot bit. 50mm screws. Whenever we screw through 18mm, we generally only use 50mm screws, 4 heads, 50mm length. And then we're just going to work our way along that, and then all it is putting this top back on. And this is what it looks like flipped over, face down. Everything is assembled now, just got to put the back on. And Sean's giving it a little clean, a little polish before we do. We always polish our work up, get rid of any dust that's left over from the workshop, because when it's all together, it's quite hard to get to the backing. We do that first, and we clean the rest once it's all done and we've finished the job and we're cleaning up and handing the job over. But when we put the backing on, we need to screw into the shelves as well, so we don't get that horrible gap in between the back of the unit and the shelving. So what Sean's done is squared a centre line down from every shelf. There's one there, and so on, every shelf. So once we got the backing on, we can then square those lines across. We've got a centre line here and a centre line there, and we'll just use a long level, and we've got a line to follow with our screws. So let's go ahead and put this 6mm backing on. Okay, so this unit's been screwed up around the perimeter. What we do is square up the backing at the top. This is the top of the unit. We get this square here and put 2 screws in. We then put 2 more here, then nice and flush, and work our way down, getting the backing flush as we screw it up. So one of us will pre-drill and move the backing, the other one will screw up. Once it's square 2 ends, if it's got lots of shelving in, then we could just go ahead and pre-drill the rest without moving anything around. And now what Sean is doing is just drawing in all these lines from all the shelf centres. So there we go. And then we're going to put another 2 screws in, 1, 2, like I said, so we don't get that horrible gap. Whenever we cut the backing in the workshop before we make it 2 mil short in length. And that is, so when we stand up and we're sliding it around, it doesn't rip the backing off. And we do the same on this side as well. So we always make this side flush, one side. And we don't want it to overhang or be a mil over, otherwise 2 units won't go up against each other nice and flush. So again, we always make a backing 2 mil shorter in width and in length for those 2 reasons. There we go, 2, 2, 2. Sean's just putting the last 2 in, I just pre-drilled them for him. And we pre-drill using a 3mm drill bit. Make sure you drill the whole 30mm length. We use 30mm screws for backings and we use 50mm screws for 18mm carcasses. And they're basically the 2 size screws that we use, apart from the screw and the hinges on, which are 20mm. All 4 heads, all of them are 4. So 4 times 20 or 4 times 30 or 4 times 50. And this unit is now ready to get in place, and it goes up against this right hand side of the opening. The bearer's already level, ready to accept it, and you can see these 2 packers here. 1 packer here, 1 packer here. And that has been placed in such a way that it's taken the load of this unit. This is one side and another side will go here. So the sides of the wardrobe will ultimately transfer their weight down onto those 2 packers. Basically, that's the joint of the 2 carcasses. Right, so that is one in. And we've left a little gap up against the wall because we've got a side cheek running all the way to the top. Where are our side cheeks, Sean?
They are in the back.
Okay, well, we forgot them there. You can see it's a nice layout, isn't it? Where you still get hanging, but shelving at the back, which is quite cool. And now we're just going to crack on, do exactly the same as we've just done, but with the larger unit. But remember, whenever you're designing a wardrobe, always make your carcass, if you're making it 1 full-size carcass, always make it at least 100mm short in length from floor to ceiling. So if you've got a floor to ceiling of 2.4, you're taking pictures, then make your carcass 2.3, because the corner to corner is longer than the height, which means as you make it on the floor, you obviously need to stand the box up, and the corner to corner, the diagonal, is longer than the height of the carcass. So you need space to be able to stand it up. If you go, oh, I'm only going to leave 10mm gap at the top and 20 at the bottom, and you make it flat on the floor, you will never get it into standing position. We're using our components up, getting through them. Once we've made this carcass, then a lot of the components will be all put together, giving us a bit more space back, and we'll have a little debriefs again, clean up a little bit. I like to work in a nice clean environment, put our tools away, then from that point we'll just start screwing up, fixing to the walls and so on. So let's go ahead and get this carcass put together. Okay, so this is the stage that we're at now. We've got the wardrobes in. It's starting to look the part now. And you can see the overhang that we've got on the sides. It's about 100mm. We've got a side cheek going on there, a side panel. Once the 2 side panels go on either side, then the doors fit in between there, and then we just run a plinth detail around it afterwards and a pelmet detail. You can see our door stop at the top here, a little strip, a little stopper. We put that in, and we're sort of building up this bottom corner, well, not the bottom corner, the bottom, with a couple of pieces. So this is going to be sort of like a door stop, so the door will stop up against this. But we've got one more strip to go up against it, which is this. That will go in there somewhere. Well, Sean's in the way at the moment. That will sort of go in there and sort of be flush for the top, and then the plinth detail will go on front of that. So the plinth detail is forward of the doors, and that's why we're building the strips out, to give the depth. Yeah, Sean at the moment, he's just fixing down to the bearers. You can see at the bottom, the bearers all the way along. You can see what I was talking about, the joints of the wardrobe. 2 of the carcasses fit on 1 packer, and that's why we put the packers there, to take the weight. Where the weight of the wardrobe gets transferred down, that packer is doing the job for 2 carcasses. And there you go. And Sean is just fixing down using 450s, screwing through, measuring where the screws go so they all look equal in every corner. 1, 2, 3, 4. Careful not to hit the sides with the drill. And then we're going to put another 2 screws in these corners. And that is the beauty of using bearers at the bottom rather than kitchen feet. Kitchen feet, you put it in, your carcass is all wobbly until you get tons of fixings, 2, 4, 6 at the top or whatever, and some at the bottom. Whereas when I put my bearers down, which are the strips, the timber, as soon as you fix the wardrobe to them, this wardrobe is probably strong enough not to even get any more fixings in. I'm giving it a good old wobble and it's hardly moving. So bearers are always the best way, I'd say. I've been using that technique for a long time. Sean's already screwed them together. The carcasses, you can see the screws, 1, 2, 3, and 1 down here where you can't really see. And he's done the same at the back, and all we're simply doing is making those screws nice and flush for the surface. We're not going to use screw caps. I think it spoils it, makes it look like IKEA job if you put screw caps on. We just make them nice and flush, and that is the finish. Every screw that you've seen here has been planned, so when we put our doors on, the door hinge will cover these screws anyway. So 9 times out of 10, any fixing does get covered with a hinge because it's been planned in the workshop that way. So it's taking shape. Once this has been fixed together, all we really need to do is get some packers in between the corners here, some spacers, wedge them in, and then we're just going to get a fixing in, SDS, use an SDS drill and drill into the wall, 1 in that corner, 1 in that corner, and that is literally all we should have to do for fixings. Like I said, bearers, the fixing into the bearers, they do most of the work. We're going to get those fixings done next, and then we'll move on to cheeks, trims, and then ultimately the doors. We've got this little strip in now, this little add-on strip, and what that does is build out the skirting. Like I said, these little pieces of skirting here, they're the returns, but you get the idea. It needs to be cut to suit. These are the returns either side, that side and that side, but I'm just showing you the detail. This will then get added on. The door will be in line like this, like so. 3 more gap, and then this skirting gets added on. So this is what this little add-on strip is for. The customer specified that she wanted the skirting, but they still want to utilise the space inside, otherwise you generally lose the space from skirting across. But we made it in such a way so you can still get storage in there. So that's what we're on now. And Sean is just, we've used a bit of mitre cast to hold this on for now, and then Sean's just screwing it on from the front, putting plenty in, 10 in, maybe across this whole face, because like I said, it's going to get covered with this skirting. So we screw it from the front because we know that it's going to get covered. And yeah, and then we're going to move on to these side panels, I think. Okay, so I'm starting on the doors. As you can see, got 1 on. Sean is doing all the trims. So he's doing his side cheeks next, which is the cheek that goes on the side to frame the doors. 1 there and 1 there. And they're 25mm thick, because as you can see, we've got gaps here to cover the voids that we had to leave, you know, to get the wardrobe in. So the side cheeks go in there. That's what Sean's doing now. There we go, door number 2. A nice 2.5mm gap there. We've sorted out this corner as well. 3mm there. There, the gaps at the top are nice. And when we get our trim at the top, we're going to get a nice 3mm gap, and we've got a nice gap at the bottom here, as equal as it can be. Now all we need to do is the last door. Right, so 1 demonstration quickly. We've got handsome John here, this young lad of 27, holding the door at 90 degrees to the carcass. Like I said, we've got 3mm spacer at the bottom, and then we've got another 3mm spacer that you can't really see, just there. That is creating our 3mm gap that we need for the door to open and close. And then we've got one 3mm spacer here. Then all I do, so like I said, I don't do the machining for the holes, the screw holes in the workshop. Close that hinge off, push it so it's nice and flat, make sure John's holding it square still.
Yep.
Then I get a 420, 20mm long screw, find the centre and go straight on, straight in and nip that up. Sometimes the packer wants to fall out, depending if you get your screw really centre or not, but that just about works. And now John can let go. And that should be enough for me to continue if I want to do it on my own. If not, John hasn't got anything to do because he's a lazy. So John can stay there, and all I need to do is just keep pushing my hinges in. 2, 2, 2. We haven't got the side panel on the side. If we had the side panel on the side, I'd probably increase these screws to 30mm long rather than 20s. If you've got the depth, go for a bigger screw because it's less likely for the door to work its spray loose over the years. So, but for now, I've only got 20s just because the side panel hasn't gone on. So that is how we fit a door. It's as simple as that. Once it's closed, we can then just adjust our gaps, see what our gaps are like, and adjust these screws to adjust the door in and out, and these screws to adjust the door left and right. Right, back on the doors again, and we're on the handles this time. So this is what the customers picked, little oak handles, which are quite nice, just simple knobs, and all they're going to be fixed with are these little screws. I've already cut them down, you've probably seen these before. They come a little bit longer, you know, and you just snap them to length according to the thickness of your door. So that's what I've done. And all I do is just use a set of pliers, snip them to length. To get my height, I just, visually, I think they look nice when they're centre of the rail. And I've just used a flat bit, because I've got it to hand to make a mark for my drill bit to spin on. Otherwise the drill bit might skate all over the place. And for these, this is an M4 screw, but I'm going to be using a 5mm drill bit already set up. Make sure you've got a nice sharp one, otherwise it will skate around and give you a crap hole. So open your door up, spacer at the back in line, because you don't want breakout. If you don't use a bit of timber at the back, you get massive breakout. And find the centre. There we go, nice and sharp. So you know it's nice and sharp, just went straight through. You get a tiny bit of breakout at the back. It looks worse than it is, but that head will cover it. Okay, so 5mm hole lets me just move that knob around ever so slightly, just in case they don't line up together. And I'm going to do the same on this side. Use your little spacer at the back, your packer, so it doesn't break out. There we go, there's another one. Lovely, make sure you don't drill your fingers. Right, so next, simple. Screw through there, tape off, get rid of the bar, and just spin that until it takes. There we go. Just get your screwdriver, you can do it two ways, either tighten the screw up or tighten the handle up, hold the screwdriver and turn your handle, or you can do the opposite. There you go, nice and tight. They look lovely actually. Good choice by the customer. Make sure they don't hit. Well, that's quite lucky. Right, next one. Get rid of the soap. Get rid of the bar. Push the screw through. And just spin the handle until it takes. There you go, get it nipped up. Probably best just to tighten the screw up at the back. There we go, another one done. Last but not least, a bit of the same. Quite satisfying getting these handles on. It's the best part, to be fair. Shows the doors off and it's a bit of bling, isn't it? A bit of bling for the wardrobe. And then what you can do, if you wanted to, is just line up the grain You can see the grain of the timber. Make sure they're both facing up. There you go. Grain's facing up. And then this one, we can do the same on this one. Loosen the screw. Get those lines straight, roughly. Nip it up. Simple as that, one little screw there. Soft close. Get rid of this tape because this is what Sean used to mark out the plinth that's being cut downstairs right now. So Sean's on that right now. All we need to do is put the 2 cheeks on, skirting, pelmets, job done, and a little polish up. Right, so that's one side cheek on, as you can see. We weren't too accurate with it around these notches because they're going to get covered eventually, and at the top. Didn't need to worry about that because, like I said, we've got a pelmet running around the top. And this is a piece that I've already got cut to size. A mitre on one end, square on the other. And that literally just go in place like so. There we go. And then return around with the long strip. And that is how we're going to do it. So this is why we don't need to be too neat with these cheeks, and this is why these cheeks need to go in first. There we got the other one down on the floor that's about to go in. And the way we're going to be fixing those cheeks is by removing a screw from the hinge and replacing these 20s with a 30, and that will ultimately go through the side of the wardrobe and fix the cheek to the side of the wardrobe, doing 2 jobs in one, holding the hinge on and holding the cheek on. Alright, so all done. As you can see, I finished off the trims. I've got a tiny bit of siliconing to do up the top, just because there's a tiny little chip. I try not to silicone unless absolutely necessary, because I prefer nice joints. If you have a look here, the way we've cut this cheek up against the wall, absolutely no need for silicone at all. It just makes it look messy. So if you get a good cut, as we have here, then that is all you need. And have a look down here as well. We've got a nice joint as well, all the way down. And where we've had to add this piece on, this skirting piece, we've just cut it over the original skirting board because this skirting was lower than the other one. If you have a look around the other side, we've got it flush at the top. So all we need to do is polish up. We're losing light, so I want to do this now before it gets dark. All we need to do is polish up, get rid of all the dust, and job done. Finished. It's a shame the light's gone, isn't it? Close the doors quickly. But yeah, really happy with the way it's all worked out. 6 hours fitting all together. I think we started at what, 8 o'clock?
Yeah.
And it's 4 now. Yeah, about 8 hours. Right, so we finally finished. The light is disappearing, so the quality isn't all there. Sorry about that. It's getting dark outside. But ultimately, we got it done in time. It's about 4:30. Light is disappearing fast. So we put these side panels on first, both sides, and then we concentrated on wrapping the pelmet around and the plinth around, and it's all finished now. What do you think? It's one of the nicest looking wardrobes I've probably built. If we look inside, it's quite deep, this wardrobe. It's 750 deep. Shelving at the back and hanging rail at the front. And that's what you call a wrap, guys. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Ciao for now. Bye bye bye.